Hey, this is Daniel from Around the Board, and I'm coming at you with John in the red corner and Chris in the orange corner. Ding, ding, ding. Sorry. I always think of like wrestling when we hear corners.
Right.
Which I guess, is pretty on brand for Chris there. So
Yes.
But hey guys, today is a special episode. We are coming back at you with March Madness of Board Gaming. That is a local game group that we host, FBC Gamers, and every March we put together a massive competition where we pit games against each other, and then the members of the group vote and decide on who's going to win. We've been doing this for 4 years now, so we have a lot of stats, we have a lot of conversations to have, and we've had 2 rounds go by so far, and I just brought in Chris and John to talk about it and just talk about our thoughts about the outcomes. So guys, first of all, round 1 was a little contentious. It was D&D versus Twilight Imperium. So the contentiousness was, does D&D even belong in a board game bracket? So what do you guys think?
That's what a lot of people were saying. I really didn't see the danger in it. I didn't see how this came out yet. So I'm not sure who won this one, but I thought Twilight Imperium was going to win in a landslide. So I didn't think the fear of D&D taking over the bracket was going to happen.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you actually thought this. Okay, 1, you don't know the outcome yet. That's shocking to me because you're on Facebook. 2, 2, you thought Twilight was going to be in a landslide. So that yes. This next slide is going to be very interesting to you. But what about you, Chris? Was D&D in this competition? Does it break the spirit of the competition? Should it not be lumped together with board games?
Maybe. No. I will say I was a little shocked that it was put on there because I know we've talked about it in the years past and not doing it because is it a board game? Is it not a board game and all that stuff? And whatever. I think tabletop's tabletop. But then, again, if you add it, then we add 40K and blah, blah, right? Yeah. Sure. There's all the thing. But I did think it was a valid choice this year. I did love the fact that like the longest board game was put up against the game that never ends.
That's right.
I thought that was interesting. But I thought I actually thought D&D was going to win in a landslide, and I think I saw the final, but like you always do your updates throughout, yes. And so I'm not sure if I saw the final.
Gotcha.
It definitely was closer when I looked than I was expecting. I thought D&D would run in a landslide.
Yes, I thought this was going to be a landslide. I thought D&D as well. John thought Twilight Imperium, but John said that Twilight Imperium is not a game, and I think
neither one of these are really games.
And the people listen.
It's a non-game bracket right here
because there's the scores right there, guys. This one ended in a tie.
What?
In a tie. We even went into extra innings. It was really fun because Andy actually voted after the poll should have closed as normal. And so his vote actually counted this time. And I was like, wow. And then somebody immediately came in and said, D&D. And then one other person. So I was like, okay, 30 more minutes. And someone else did the exact same thing. Someone was like, Twilight TI4, D&D. So in the end, there was a tie, and in this competition, the ties go to the higher seeded game, which was Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
So
wow,
yeah,
man,
so that's crazy.
Yep. But so that's
the first time we've had that, right? Or maybe we've had ties before.
We've had ties before.
Yeah.
Nothing to this caliber. Definitely not in round 1.
Round 1. We had in round 1 before. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Usually the round 2, and I say round 1, it's like round 1-1, round 1-2. But round 2-1 is when things start getting really tight. But this one, it has promise. This one, I think there's going to be a lot of good competitions, and we're going to see that here in just a moment as we hit some of these other slides. Brass and Aura Labora. This one surprised almost nobody.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, Brass is on the top of the world right now, literally on top of Board Game Geek as number 1. It is the one to crush and the one to overcome. And Aura Labora, no, it didn't have the power.
Ooh.
Yeah, it got destroyed. This is Aura Labora's first year on this list, and they did not make a good showing. Have either of you played Aura Labora? Sorry, John, I know you have not played Aura Labora. You don't have to answer that.
Why would you make that assumption?
Well, because you're not...
Just because it's an old game and it looks stupid and boring and has a stupid name. Yeah, that's a bunch of reasons why I haven't played it.
There you go. But all the reasons Chris has played it?
Probably.
Right, okay. So this looks like it's so up my alley, it's insane. But I have to admit that this game, every time I see it, I'm just like, they didn't care about this game at all. Like this must be terrible because they didn't even try. The name is like it's not even like old man naming games, right? Like El Grande or something.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like it's Adam Sandler from Waterboy or whatever. Like the boy or whatever, right? Yeah, it's the name is awful, and then the art is like, I mean, it's that same Agricola art, which is fine.
Yes.
It gets an art style. It hits some people, hits other people, whatever. I'm okay. I'm kind of even on it. I don't really care either way. But just the overall box front presentation, like I just like when I look at it, I'm like, they didn't even care about this game. Like
no,
they didn't even try. So I've not played it. I actually I really want to play it now after having this conversation. I want to play it and probably turn out to be the greatest game of all time.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it is an Uwe game
because
it's an Uwe Rosenberg game, and Uwe Rosenberg is like his games don't miss. Like, so I'm sure it's a great game. It just all the reasons that John and Chris said, both John negative, but Chris said it positively.
Yes.
But it's the same reason.
Just in a different spin.
It's the reason it hasn't been played. But yeah, so Or Labor, first year on the list, it did not make up. But here's the question though. Next, the actual round, I put round 2 on here. It should have been 1.2, but regardless, round 2.1 is going to be D&D versus Brass. What are the predictions there?
First of all, apologies out there to everybody. Daniel's not a basketball guy. He's a baseball guy.
Yes.
So the whole bracket thing, terminology really throws him off. This is all round 1, just so everybody knows. Just different brackets.
Yes.
But what was the question now? Who's going to win between Brass and D&D?
Sorry, we'll get back on track after you insulted me. Okay, so...
I was distracted by that.
No,
I think Brass is going to be... Is that who it is?
Brass versus Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm still saying Brass. I think Brass is a juggernaut. I think, D&D is Kentucky putting its place by one of the blue bloods. That's a true blue blood these days. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be super interesting, and I think the outcome in that fight is vastly different 2, maybe 3 months at most ago than it would be now. Right,
That's
like
true.
With all the controversy of WotC with D&D, there's a lot of people that are super fanboys of D&D that are disenfranchised with it right now. And then Brass out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, it's been at the top for a long time. But it just doesn't feel like a game that's going to be at the top of BGG, right? Like, or at least in this era. Like back in the day, sure, but not now, right? So I think Brass is going to win still. But yeah, 2.5, 3 months ago at most, D&D in a landslide, I think.
Yeah, in our opening video, I did say 2 years ago, which is why I don't want D&D to win the brackets, and not because I don't like D&D. I actually really enjoy D&D. Well, that's a discussion for another time. But in the end, I do enjoy D&D, and it could win. But I did feel like if it won in a landslide, it would have ruined the feel of this. So the fact that it even had a contentious first round makes me happy, even if it gets to the end, because at least competition showed up against it.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So that was Joe's bracket. So now let's look at Cliff's bracket. I got to say, this one was the most surprising of them all for me. So the Red Dragon Inn versus Bunny Kingdom. Any guesses, John, on which one won, since you don't know the results yet?
If you're surprised, it was probably the Red Dragon Inn, I don't know which one I picked in my bracket, but I know I voted for Red Dragon Inn just because it's always intrigued me. There's so many different expansions for it or whatever that have always, just the names of it, I've always been like, that just looks like a game that'd be fun to play. I don't know. It's so that's what I threw out there. Bunny Kingdom's never really, people say it's good, but it's it's bunnies. I don't know. It's never really intrigued me. But.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, I'm almost taking the same take as John, but for all the same reasons. Like, Bunny Kingdom's never really drawn me in. I've heard good things. I also have a very weird love-hate relationship with Richard Garfield. I don't think Magic was very good when he left it. When he walked away and then WotC fully took it over, that's when the game got fantastic. At the same time, I love the game that is because Magic exists. I love Robo Rally, and that's also one of his. So it's kind of, I'm very hit or miss with Bunny Kingdom. So I do want to play it, but not as much as I have always wanted to play Red Dragon Inn, because everyone talks about it. Like John said, there's a million expansions for it. In many ways, I worry that it's just like Munchkin, because like there's so many expansions. I don't know, but at the same time, like there's so many. Like someone has to be buying this game, and who are those people that were buying Munchkin? Like, I don't know. Right. So I don't know. But yeah, I definitely voted for Red Dragon Inn because I I want to play it.
Yeah,
and that's
so
the other thing, just disclaimer for people. Like, it's not just like you don't have to have always played all like the games themselves. You can just vote on like which one interests you right now and stuff like that. It doesn't have to actually be which one's better because you've played both.
yeah, which is completely valid in my opinion, because
Sure.
you can't play every game, and I want everybody to be involved. And I think saying I want to play this game is just as valuable as saying I like this game the most. Because let's be face it, that's how we do this hobby, right? Oh, I want to play that maybe 10 years from now, but one day I'm going to play it, and that's just as much as the hobby. Well, let's not beat around the bush anyways. I said I was surprised by the outcome, not because Bunny Kingdom lost, but because Red Dragon Inn showed up. I thought it was going to just be like a 20-0 victory. But
really?
Red Dragon Inn had some competition. Wow. So, and John, you did put your money where your mouth is. You voted for Red Dragon Inn, so you did not get your point there in the bracket.
Oh, okay. So I did pick it. I couldn't remember what I picked. Okay.
Yeah, and you guys probably noticed that I'm looking down. I am trying to find past stats, and Bunny Kingdom was on here before, and I am just trying to figure out how far Bunny Kingdom went in the competition. But I don't think I'm going to be able to find it very quickly, so I'm just going to forego it. So sorry about that. So Bunny Year, it's second year. I know it did not get into the Final Four. I don't even think it got to the end of its bracket. So we'll see how far this game can go. And its first competitor is going to be the winner of this round, Century Spice Road versus Ethnos. Again, this one, complete shocker. Complete shocker.
Wow.
Got any guesses of what won?
If it's a complete shocker, I'm going to think Ethnos probably won. But just because Century is like the pretty, lightweight, fun, splendor killer kind of game that you would think appeals to a lot of people. And Ethnos is a little niche, I think.
Yeah, but, I think Ethnos is a great game. And I think...
I do too.
I don't know how anybody would pick Century Spice Road because it is just a derivative of Splendor over Ethnos, but they did.
Oh, really?
And they did it by a large margin.
Wow.
Like, I'm okay if Ethnos would have lost, but by that big of a margin, that killed me. And I actually had Ethnos going to the Final Four. So that's pretty painful. And one person in our group, Cliff, he actually had Ethnos going to the finals and to win. So
my goodness!
Yeah, so
really?
we already have one virtual elimination, and and our friend Kelly also got hit pretty hard on this one too. So it was me, Cliff, and Kelly who had a lot of hopes in Ethnos, but it just it looked that matchup was as disgusting as that cover.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. I wonder if, like, even though Ethnos is, like, mechanically and all that super strong and great and fun to play, I wonder if, like, the age mixed with, like, the just bewildering art and design and overall artistic direction, right? Like, and we all know I don't care about art, but I'm just saying, like, it just was a weird pairing, right?
Yes.
Like, and then those little, like, things you put on the board that don't even match any of the colors, like just some like I just wonder if all that combined with the time has just made people kind of tired of it, right? And so you got the people who have played it that really do like a Left Notes, they're still kind of tired of it, and Century Spice Road has the boons of maybe it's a little bit newer, a little more exciting, and then it's also because it is kind of simple, it is kind of derivative of Splendor. You got a lot of people that maybe are new or casual that it just really does something for. So maybe that's how we get to where we are. But I was very surprised. I mean, I voted for Century just for all the reasons I kind of did about Elfness, but I didn't think it was going to be 22-9.
Wow.
Yeah, and this one too, like I actually see people play Ethnos at our second Friday game nights. I don't see anybody play Century Spice Road. So that was the other part that just blew my mind. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I guess a lot of people want to play it.
Yeah, and before Chris does one of his criticism of our matchups, and that is the people who do the prediction brackets also can vote on the game. There's two things about that. One, their prediction brackets are hidden, so they don't know, they have to recall what they voted for, and they are supposed to vote for what they would prefer. And I will say this, Ethnos and Century was pretty much down the middle. So, I mean, essentially it was a wash in that regard. So anything extra was people being honest and people not in the competition. So we got a legitimate read on this game, but I think they just announced the reprint of it, and it's going to be a new theme with new art. And I do wonder if next year with a new name, if Ethnos will actually make it further. So
didn't you say they completely changed the theme? Like it's not even like a battle or area control.
Yeah,
kind of thing?
it's area control, but you're like a team of archaeologists going into
yeah.
exploring lands. So yeah. I just don't know which which different races of
exactly.
of
so it's gonna be different talents of archaeologists.
Yeah, exactly.
Or different minerals. You're finding different minerals or something like that.
My archaeologist is an orc. Mine is a giant.
That's right.
I just want to know if it's going to have the same name, or it's just going to be a
not.
spiritual successor and not actually even have the same name.
It is not a spiritual successor. It is an actual retheming. Like, it's just the same game with just pasted on. I mean, that game's pasted on anyway, so no big deal. All right, so this next one, we're going to move on to the next one. This next one is actually our co-host Andy's bracket. John, Chris, we've all done a bracket in the years past. Andy is one of the, and Randy even. Andy's one of the few that have not, and he whined about it till we finally let him make a bracket. And then he was supposed to talk about his bracket, and he had to go watch Ted Lasso with his wife. So, anyways, his games, his 1 seed versus his 16 was Heaven and Ale versus Skull King. A very unique matchup, a little light card game with a little bit of a rondel game. So let's just look at what's going on here. And we got Heaven and Ale winning 20-7. So this one was this actually killed Topher's bracket. We had one person who predicted Skull King was going to go all the way to the semifinals. So yeah, it's interesting how this works.
That's surprising. I guess a lot of people like Skull King, but not enough to vote for it.
Heaven and Ale is just a solid game. Like, I don't think you two have played it yet, but it's good. I know Chris will like it, and I think John will like it too. It's, I think, that perfect medium of the road, like lightweight game that's like enough thought process. The point scoring on it is very intense because you literally have to decide, do I want to get a tile to better my engine, or do I want to score this? And if I don't score it now, I may never get to score it again. Like, really good decisions, and but they're really simple decisions to make.
Yeah, that's the kind of game I usually like, so I probably would like it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to go back to Cliff's real quick. I forgot to do the whole, because we talked about Ethno so long. What do you guys think? Bunny Kingdom versus Century Spice Road. Who's taking next round?
I mean, in that one, I got to think Century Spice Road especially. Maybe just because I guess I have some more disdain for Bunny Kingdom than I really thought about until we started recording here. But I got to imagine if Century Spice Road can take on Ethnos, I don't know how it doesn't take down Bunny Kingdom. Like, I've never heard fanfare for Bunny Kingdom, really. So
I like Bunny Kingdom.
I'm kind of going that same way. That's especially as how it cruised to victory there in that first round.
Yeah, and even though this is Century's first time in the brackets, Bunny Kingdom has been, and it gets eliminated early every time. So I don't know if it has the staying power, the star power. I think it's a true, mid-tier game for this competition. So, anyway, sorry about that. We backed up a little bit. So Heaven and Ale, Skull King, Heaven and Ale won 20-7. So not a real close matchup. Now this one was a dagger through my heart. Concordia versus Res Arcana. There was a clear favorite in this one, but just enough people, including Matt Saunders, had put his money on Res Arcana to go pretty far, but unfortunately it could not hold up against the massive hit Concordia. So, yeah, have you guys played Concordia?
17-14.
Yeah, no, very
I've not
close.
played Concordia. That's for many reasons that are purely aesthetic.
I know, look at that cover.
Whereas Res Arcana, I love Res Arcana. I've never had a bad time playing it. Even if you can always feel like you're competitive in that game up to the end. You're like building these combos. Oh, I do this, I'll get this card out, and then I'll get this card out, and everything's so tight that you're doing, and it pops along. It's just a fun game. But I can't believe Concordia is more fun.
So I picked Concordia in this situation because I've played it and it was fine. I didn't pick Res Arcana because I've also played it, and I can't remember anything about the game.
Oh, seriously?
It was so forgettable. I've literally forgot everything about the game. Whenever I see the box, I think Five Tribes. I'm like, oh, that's not that game. It's this other one. They always talk about it. And, like, I can't remember anything about it at all. So,
oh man,
wow.
Yeah,
well,
I need to get it played again for sure. But
Yeah.
it's truly forgettable.
Yeah.
For me.
Huh.
But Concordia at the same time, everyone raves about it, and like, it just hasn't really done anything for me. I only played it once. I probably need to play again. Sure. But it was just, I remember it, but it wasn't exciting. It was fine.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Concordia as I do against Brass. Like, I see that there's a good game there. I don't see how it's considered like one of the greatest. Again, maybe because it's first in the class type of thing. But as time goes, you see other ones, and you're just like, wow, is it really that good? Well, regardless, this is the cleared favor to win this. I think this division. Though there's some challenging stuff. I gave Andy a hard time saying that his was the worst bracket. It actually isn't too bad. He has some really good ones. But we have to ask the question before we forget. Concordia versus Heaven and Ale. What wins?
Chris, go ahead. What do you think?
Oh man, I was just purely off the. I would say Concordia because I just people just love that game. They just love that game, at least on the internet, right? But at the same time, like maybe Heaven and Ale because people seemingly like that as well. I haven't played Heaven and Ale. I want to, but yeah, I don't know. I think that one's going to be real close.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Concordia. I think I think the same kind of people will like them both. I mean, so I think it's the more popular one of the two. I think more people will have an affinity for it. But
yeah, I think Concordia as well, unless there's an Andy effect. Because again, this is our local group. So if Andy's played Heaven and Ale with enough people and convinced enough people that this is the best game. But he hasn't played with John. Well, we don't play games with John, so it's an unwritten rule. So
there also could be the big like I want to play it vote, right? Because I feel like less people played Heaven and Ale, so they might just go Heaven and Ale because they haven't played it. So
yeah. So it'll be an interesting one, but I think Concordia is definitely favored. So. And we have another UA game in Serena. This is Feast for Odin versus Hanamakoji. I do want to say this about Hanamakoji is that we were at a Cabin Con and I had never seen Hanamakoji played, and I show up there and I go to my room and the guy who showed up who didn't want to play board games, just play video games, was literally playing Hanamakoji, and I was just like, okay, that happens. That's a random happenstance. So I can at least say I've seen the game now.
There you go.
But yeah, Feast for Odin. This one is another pretty humorous one because you got this massive game of like the biggest game of all time versus a really small card game. So what do you think, FBC gamers? Do we prefer the big game or the small game?
Oh, I think Feast probably tore it up on this. It had
I agree. It had to be a landslide for Feast of Odin. I did pick Hanamakoji, whatever.
Hanamakoji.
I literally never heard of the game. I missed the guy at TrevorCon playing the game. So like when I saw this on like earlier today or whatever it was we were voting, I was just like, I don't know what you are, but I hate Feast of Odin so much. And you could be like just the worst game ever, and I still picked you because I was just like, I have some hope with you, but Feast of Odin. But yeah, no, Feast of Odin's got to win in the landslide.
Yeah, what I hear is that Chris does not like Uwe Rosenberg.
Unless it is Glass Road. Glass Road is magnifique. But everything else that guy does just doesn't resonate with me. But I need to play Converna. I've still somehow never played Converna. Oh, I also like I bought it from you.
Yeah. Lahav.
I like that a lot as well. That's a great one as well.
All right, so this one has the most history. This one is kind of the matchup that inspired me to dig deep into the annuals of FBC Gamers March Madness, and I had some other points of research for some of the other games, but I've misplaced them and stuff. But they weren't as interesting as Everdell versus Orleans. Yeah. Everdell and Orleans have been in the competition for 3 years, and they have been pitted against each other every single time. No matter where they show up, The very first year they showed up, it was in round 1, like we are right now. Or maybe it was round 2. I'm sorry. I don't remember. Round 2, maybe. And Orleans lost by 2 points. Oh. And then the next year, they met in the semifinals of their bracket. And Orleans lost by 8 points.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So this year, in round 1, Orleans is an old man that needs to be put out to pasture.
Oh, man.
Oleon needs a new coach.
He did not show up. They have
Talk about the completion edition effect.
Yes.
Like, I can only imagine that's the reason, right? Like, wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Everdell has picked up steam, and it's never looked back. And Orleans, I mean, it's one of those things. It's that box cover. It's its mechanic that's been done potentially better by other things like Wonderland's War. Or... that was purely for Chris's reaction there. But no, there are other bag builders. This was the original. This maybe not the original, but it was definitely one of the first. It got the most fanfare, and it was so exciting when it came out. But it was really easy to replicate, and I think it just hasn't held up. And I mean, Everdell has a 3-foot tree that does nothing for the game at all. And how can you go up against a 3-foot tree? You can't. You can't do it.
No.
If Brass was put up against Everdell would win because it has a 3-foot tree.
I don't know.
So
we might find out.
We might find out. We might. But here's your question, guys: Everdell or Feast for Odin?
Oh,
wow!
I know this one's a hard one.
It's got to be. I think it's got to be Everdell. I think Everdell's got the populist vote, and I know Feast isn't getting my vote. I know Feast isn't getting Chris's vote, but Everdell might not either. Chris is going to be really, really stymied on that one, probably.
No, I like Everdell. It's fine. I don't see the fanfare it gets, but it's a fine game. Like, I enjoy it. I guess I'm not going to always say yes if someone wants to play it immediately. I might be like, oh, what else we got? Maybe. Okay, we're playing it. All right, I'm fine. Like, I'll have a good time, but I'm not, like, over the moon about it. But I can recognize it's a good game, and I understand all the extra reasons people like it. And those berries, they feel good in your hands. Like, they feel good.
You like to feel the berries in your hands.
Are we still talking about the game?
Exactly. Anyways, but yeah, I think the only things that take down Feast are like things like Everdell and Brass. But I think Everdell has a chance. Like, I really do think, especially. I mean, yes, I see what you're saying about Orleans being old. People have reinvented, like, they made the wheel, but everyone made it better with the bag builders. So I can see that's why it's fallen off. But I mean, maybe it's just the evolution. But I think it all has to do with that giant coffin box that came out this year for Everdell.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what's really pushed it into the limelight, so to speak.
I'm gonna counter that. I think that's actually gonna be its downfall. There, listen, Chris. Listen.
Everdell overload.
I know you have harsh feelings about the direction that the board game community is going. Bigger, better, bigger trees means a better game. There's some kickback. There is some kickback. The big box of Anachrony, the big box of Everdell, the big box of Wingspan, people are getting this going, this is too much. And there's rumblings. People are saying, I don't know if we want this. This is not the direction we want to go. And I've heard a lot of people who got the big box Everdell, they see it on their desk and they go, or on their shelf, and they're like, I don't want to get it out. I'm too scared now.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. So maybe
I hope that's the case. Trust me, but I don't know.
Yeah,
or they vote for it because they have to justify that they went and got the big box. So I must love it because I've got the big box.
That's right.
Same reason Gloomhaven's at the top, because they got to justify that money they spent.
And Twilight Imperium, same reason it wins.
I guess that's fair.
They got to pretend they like that game.
That's right.
All right, guys. Well, that is it for this segment. We are 2 days into the March Madness of board games, and it has been an exciting matchup so far. We've had a lot of ranking, like craziness in the rankings as far as the people who are in the prediction brackets. This has been the best year where things have not been clear cut at all. So this has been a fun one. Again, if you do want to fill out a bracket just for funsies, I'll put a link in the description below so that you can participate alongside us and see the full list. If you do want to know the whole list and take me and John's take on it, you can watch our previous video where we go over the entire competition, and John and I give our predictions about who's going to take it all. So, but I think that's going to end this video today. We'll be back in a couple more days to discuss what has happened since this day. But until then, we'll see you around the board.
Around the board.